Hello everybody, Reggie Time here again with the second episode in my Darkside experiment where I 4-table speed poker on 888 to see what win rates I believe are possible and what euros in terms of hourly rate is possible. Just to see if we're 4-tabling these, just what our net hourly rate possible is going to be. The intention is to play 50,000 hands or 50 hours, whichever comes first, and just looking at the 50 hours is going to come first at this point, and then kind of make some loose decisions based on that. This is my results since yesterday. I've managed to play 4 hours, play 3,000 hands so far, won almost nothing. I've won slightly more than that. I think it's around 9 euros that I'm up. But there's I had a couple of internet issues last night. Didn't quite get the hands finished, if you will, so the hand history didn't save, but I won the pot, so I'm up an extra €8, which is neither here nor there. It's not going to have any influence on the end outcome. I've been running salty, as you can see, don't really care about that. It's disappointing, but it's just the way it goes. These are very quickly, my top-down starts. We're effectively playing 20/16, 4.5 3-bet. Probably be a little bit higher, which has never been my style to be a big 3-bet or and rake 42 euros, which is probably worth around 14 euros in rewards, maybe 14 or 15 euros in rewards. So there we are with it. That's my results today. I've been starting every session with this, as I said in the first video. I'm hoping to release several videos over the 50 hours. I would hope to release at least 12 videos, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the session. My impressions of the games so far have been that they are somewhat comparable to 30NL on 888. I think there's certainly more laggy type regulars in these games, and probably a few less loose passive fish, but there's probably more moderately bad aggressive regulars that that in some way make up for the less loose passive fish. I certainly haven't seen anything that makes me think these games are even close to unbeatable. I think my initial guess of 4.8 blinds 100 for my win rate, don't think it should be too far out, to be completely honest with you. I mean, it might be, but it doesn't feel like my estimate's been overly generous so far. It's a pretty awful river here against J. So I'm just going to bet fold. I'm going to try and pronounce that, because we can still get caught by some 2 pairs, by some worse hands. But if he raises, he kind of always can have a flush. And we did win, so it's a nice, albeit small, but nice little thin value bet we put in there that I believe many players, they kind of want a bluff catch there when the diamond comes. And it wasn't my thing. I think bet folding's a superior line. So yeah, I think, I don't think I'm going to be able to produce the hourly rate in these games that I want to produce. Ideally, I mean, if I'm going to be not making as much in these games as I can make by 4-tabling 50NL on Unibet or Sky or whatever, or 888, I will not be sticking with these games. But hopefully, I'll be in a much better position to give advice to aspiring grinders as to just my stock response is play on soft sites, and just try and print some money off. But not everyone wants that, so I kind of owe it to the people who come to me for coaching and come to me for advice I'm not going to see bet here against 2 players, by the way. I owe it to the people who come to me for advice to have as broad an understanding of the overall landscape as possible. And my understanding of iPoker in particular was sketchy. So, yeah, it's not going to hurt me to put a few hours in playing these games. I expect to still make some money in them, and I'm going to be in a far better position to do what people pay me to do. So yeah, I'm happy doing it, very comfortable doing it still. I mean, obviously I hope that I end up after the 50 hours with with the positive win rate, or that's not going to look too good for me, but I do fully intend to see the challenge out, and I would hope I would be held to account if I didn't see it out. So with the sixes here, and my decision is whether to c-bet to get him to fold his equity share if he's got a hand like king, queen, queen, jack, jack 10, or to just check and probably fold. So a decision here. I don't know enough about this player to know anything about it. He's playing 12 hands, he's playing almost half his hands. So against this type of player for the time being, I'm just going to elect with the slightly more conservative route and just check fold at this point, because I have no idea. I mean, he's playing 45-45. That could be his true stats. He could be on a heater. He could be playing tight by his standards. Who knows? I mean, he might just check back here. He's actually disconnected now, so not sure what people's views are on these sort of situations, but my view is just bet the turn if he's disconnected and just pick up the pot. He's now reconnected, so that's a non-issue anymore. So he checks back. So what kind of range checks back there? I mean, I don't think people check back an ace very often there. So is he just checking back hands that he's giving up on? Is he checking back some better hands, like pocket eights, those type of things? And again, we don't know, so I'm just going to check. We haven't learned anything from his checking back, but we've hit a brickish turn, so you know, we're not too disappointed with the situation as it's working out. We're going to try and cheaply show our hand down at this point, and hopefully learn something about him to use the next time we come up against him. So the limper here, we've had someone who looks like they may be a regular by the stats of a very small sample size. I'm just going to call because I would rather keep Scooby Jr. in the pot, who's limped in, not playing 100 blind stack. I'd rather keep him in the pot with ace queen than isolate myself against Done a Lot, who's going to play better against me, who's going to play his ranges better, and for me, keeping bad players in the pot is more important than just 3-betting for some thin value against Done a Lot. And now my decision, Done a Lot has now basically said I don't have a hand when he just calls that raise. So I think now I'm going to make a really big raise and stack off against Mac 2 Tiger and hopefully get both Scooby Jr. and Done a Lot out of the pot. And I think it's going to be fine against him. I don't know anything about Mac 2 Tiger, but when he makes that min 3-bet, it could be anything. One thing he does demonstrate is he's a poor player, so I expect he's going to make quite a lot of mistakes, and that's exactly the kind of thing. I'm not going to say it's exactly what I expected to see, but it's the kind of mistake I expect people who make those kind of bet sizing blunders to be making. Just doing dumb things. Re-isolating there is very important, in my opinion. Done a lot. As now he limped. Oh, he's min raised again. It was the thing from last time. I'm going to call here because if we look at Belnew's, whatever it's called, he's only got a 2% 3-bet. So I'm not particularly concerned about getting squeezed by him. If we had a larger 3-bet, I probably would have 3-betted there myself. But because his 3-bet is largely insignificant, I'm just going to try and see keep the pot small against someone who I expect to have some kind of advantage over. Check call here. Probably going to check call the river too. Expecting to lose to ace queen, things like that. He snap checks back. So I started to get the impression that Done a Lot probably isn't going to be a particularly strong player. I think we just have to race here against this guy leading out. He's going to have a draw or a 10 most of the time. I don't think he's doing this with total air. So I think there's a good chance that we're going to get called here. So why not make a raise? If there's a good chance of getting called, you may as well make your raise. I mean, what we'd really like him to do is 3-bet here, so we can just shovel all the beans in and hope he doesn't have 10-7. Going to go for one more streak of thin value with the Queen 9 and just fold to a raise if he raises. I'm going to bomb this turn here against our friend Vasilek. We're going to 3-bet the Ace King for obvious reasons. We're going to raise pretty big against this donk bet. There's tons and tons and tons of worse hands that can call. That's a pretty poor return card for us. Not so poor that we're not going to just stack off against him because of his stack size. And we're just going to put him in now. And expect to be good plenty of the time. And unfortunately, he did suck out on us. And that's just life. No reason to c-bet the Ace King really here. We have 2 overs, backdoor, straight draw, etc. So when we could, there's nothing wrong with c-betting. There's just no reason that we have to do it. Although I think in this occasion I will go ahead and c-bet, just because I think we can get to fold a decent amount of hands that have equity against us, and rely on our backdoors the times that we do get called. Backdoors and 2 overs, they're the good hands to start c-bet bluffing with. So we've been called here by another potential fish. Wow, these games are looking pretty good tonight. With the 8-9, we flopped up pair. Pretty wet boards, so I was going to c-bet. Until I got donked into. I'm not in love with squeeze it with calling here, because I think we're going to get squeezed a bit too often by the blinds. But we have the button, so I'm going to call. But I'm not in love with it. I think that there is a decent chance we get squeezed. Hopefully we turn Gin up here against Aurora. There's no reason to raise. Well, there is reasons to raise. I guess we can protect our hand, but while he's putting these sizable bets in, I don't mind him keeping the initiative. I mean, obviously if a 10 or a diamond or a 7 comes off, we're going to hate life, but cross that bridge when we come to it. The diamond's not great, but I think we can have more flushes than him where we've taken with the line we've taken here. So now it's just a matter of, do I want to bet for thin value? And I don't think I do. I think it's maybe going to be a little bit too thin, so we're just going to check back now and hope to win. Which we do. We've got 2 pair over here. Poker's easy when you always hit. Sorry if you can hear some meowing in the background, it's my kitten. It seems to me whenever I make a video she just has this 6th sense and comes and torments me, wants to play. I don't like turning her down, she's only a baby, but at the same token I don't particularly want to distract my concentration either. Right, she seems to have disappeared, which is good. A6 suited, stack size. I mean, if he was a regular, I mean, it's kind of tempting to play because of Scooby Junior, but I think it's just too weak. If it was a min raise or a 2.5x, I may have opened, but there has to be a point where you say, no, I'm not calling, and that was close enough to that point for me. Really, I'm enjoying the forehanded nature of these games. As you can see, I played a 6-match session earlier, and it was more 6-handed because the pool was bigger. Ended up playing reasonably tight in that session, 17-14, which isn't untypical for me. I'm not going to lie. I'm quite a tight player, so it's not like it's the first time I've ever played that tight. But at the same token, I do prefer playing 4-handed to 6-handed. Which may be counterintuitive to some people to think, well, this guy's a nit, why would he prefer to play short-handed? I kind of am a nit, but I like to think I'm a good nit, and playing shorter-handed, so I'm just out of position less, and because I'm not a huge defender of the blinds. People have criticised me in the past for not defending my blind enough. I'm not defending it at optimal frequencies, etc., etc. I mean, I don't really care too much about that, to be completely honest. There'll be some people gasping in horror at my saying that, but yeah, it's not something I'm that asked about. So this guy is open 43% from the small blind so far, folded to 75% of re-steals. So it seems like a good time to re-steal with a hand like King 4 suited, just because, you know, if those stats are going to bear out over a long sample size or a large sample size, that's obviously going to be really profitable there to do that. This is the first time this gentleman's open from the small blind, but because he's just open for a min raise, King 2 suited way too strong to fold. He's c-betting, he doesn't do an awful lot of c-betting, he only c-bets 20% so far out of position. I still think we can raise here. I think he's going to fold enough of his range to make raising absolutely fine. King 3 suited versus somebody who opens 56% of buttons, but it's folded a decent amount so far, so we'll open a 3-bet. We're not going to 3-bet the 210s here because this guy has been folded to 75% of c-bets so far, so I'm less inclined to 3-bet people with a hand like 10s if I think they're going to fold too often. He might, I mean, the sample size is small, so it's not that reliable, but it's all they've got to work on. But he does c-bet a lot. He's c-bet 77% in position, so certainly won't be folding my 10s just yet. And I won't be folding on that turn card either. Although I do believe he's not going to barrel very much on this board. I think people's range for c-betting on wet boards and barreling on wet boards is usually a lot narrower. Queen Jack suited here, going to call because of the big blind. He checks back the turn, so now it's just whether we'll go for thin value on the river. I think I will, because I think we can get caught by things like pocket 8s, 9x if it's turned to 9 somehow. It's thin, don't get me wrong, it is thin. I don't expect to get raised too often, but I don't expect to get called too often either, but I prefer bet folding there than check calling. I check raise here with my 2 overcards and backdoor draws against someone who c-bets 78% in position. And we get the fold. So this is not the first video in a while I've been able to use stats to help me make decisions in hands, and I mean they really are useful. I mean a common problem, or a common theme, should I say, not so much a problem, from people who come to me for coaching, for help, is that they have HUDs running, but they get no use out of them almost. It's too small a sample size, but it's folded to 3 out of 4 re-steals so far. Again, small sample size, but ace-9 seems like a good hand to 3-bet him with, and he folds again. They have HUDs running, but they're just not using them. They're just taking like 2 seconds over each decision, and they're just not using the HUD. They've got like the VP, the PFR, the 3-bet, so they're using the headline stats. They're not really, in my opinion, getting anywhere near enough out of the HUD. So this guy is stole once from the button so far. I mean, 10-8 off. It's very close to the bottom of my range for defending, but I am going to just defend it versus the min raise. Yeah, but to get back to the HUD point, they just, for want of a better word, they just suck at using the HUD most of the time. They just don't use it. I'm like, well, why have you done that? What's this guy's fault to 3-bet? Oh, I don't know. or have you got a HUD running? I mean, that's a pretty crucial stat to know. I mean, before we decide whether we can 3-bet somebody or not 3-bet somebody, knowing how often they call or fold to 3-bets is a significant piece of information. And people have HUDs running, and they don't go searching for that information still, which to me is just, it's almost incomprehensible. I'm going to see about this really dry board here with my ace-6. Some backdoor draws. We've got a pair. And now he's called. I'm just going to pretty much give up, try and hit an ace or a 6. Not going to call here if he bets. Just going to fold. He's going to have a queen way too often, or maybe an 8. Going to fold here too. His bet's pretty big there. How am I going to respond to a raise here? I'm going to get it in against this type of player off this stack size. I won't be thrilled if I get check raised here. But I think we're just going to have too much. I mean, that sort of player, we'd expect them to check raise 10x there sometimes, check raise some draws, just have some random check raise bluffs in the range. So yeah, I think just getting it in versus a check raise there would be fine. But that's another thing that I do that many people come to me don't do. They just don't plan ahead. They just make the raise there, or they make the bet there because I've got 2 jacks, I need to c-bet, and then when they get raised, they're like, oh shit, now what? Think about what you're going to do to a raise before it happens, because you're way more likely to make a good decision if you do that than you are if you're just responding off the cuff to a raise. So this guy hasn't c-bet that wet board. I'm just going to triple barrel here, unless he raises me. If he just goes check, call, check, I'm just going to go bet. Because I don't think his range is going to be strong enough to get to showdown enough of the time. Yeah, this might be the time he's slow playing something good, who knows. But generally speaking, his range here isn't going to be able to take 3 barrels. And if he does turn out that he's like slow playing a really big hand on me, or he's check calling with hands like pocket 10s, pocket jacks here, that's fine. I just won't take this line against this particular opponent again. I don't think it's an unreasonable chance I get check raised here, but I think most people c-bet the draws. And he just had 7 king, which, whatever, that's fine. I'm not sure I'm fond of his line, to be honest with you, but he got maximum value from me. But the problem is he can't have known that that's how I play, because he can't know anything about me, because I'm new to the site. He didn't have many hands on me. So yeah, I mean, if that's always going to be his line there, just check, call. I mean, what I'll do after this session now, I'll go and find that hand, and I'll just put a note on him, and he just won't get value from me in that way ever again. And next time I triple barrel him, I just will have it, and hopefully he'll have a note on me saying that I triple barrel light, etc. So we can certainly make that play pay back for us, pay off for us in future spots against him. This guy didn't c-bet this board, so again now, I think he would c-bet all pocket pairs, so he's going to bet twice. And I'm just going to hope that this guy falls to a lot of 3-bets by the looks of things, so he's going to call. Going to hope that he doesn't just peel ace king on that turn. If he peels ace king, this is clearly not a good bet, but he clearly didn't peel it that time. Not a good board for our king queen suited. But as I explained, if someone's, I mean, fair enough, it's a small sample size, but if someone's got a 80% 4 to 3 bet, albeit only over 5 samples, it has to mean something. It can't mean nothing. You see bets way too often. At 83%, my problem here is we just don't have any equity. If I had any kind of sliver of backdoor equity there, other than just 2 overcards, then There's no way that I would have just check folded there. Here, with the Queen 8 suited, the guy looks like he might 3-bet quite a lot, so we're going to make a loose defend and look to try and outplay him on some boards and some flops. So what's his c-bet in 3-bet pots? Let's have a look, see. 70% in 3-bet pots. I'm going to float him here with that backdoor diamonds. And I'm going to look to attack if he checks. If he double barrels, I'm just going to fold. I have no problem with it whatsoever. But we went backdoor diamonds. For me, I can float there, then I can float any 8 on the turn. I can bet when he checks to me. I can float diamonds. There's plenty of good things that can happen on the turn there. Call again here with the 6-7 suited. Not particularly good flop for us. So we have a limp, an isolation raise from a 35-7. So I'm presuming he's going to have a pretty strong hand. C-bet this board, not much you can do about it. Just get the hell out of the way. So I'm presuming he's going to have a pretty strong hand because I wouldn't have thought 36-7s are the type to just go isolating too often. You'd imagine they'd be the type to do a lot more over limping than isolating. But unfortunately he didn't have a hand there, so we don't get to capitalise. Right. He looks like a big squeezer. He looks like he's not a big squeezer, but I want to play pots with done a lot, so I'm going to just 3-bet him just to isolate him. If I thought I could just peel there and just play a small pot in position against done a lot, I would have just peeled, but I was worried that we would get squeezed too often by Suba Quart or whatever the hell it's called. Unfortunately, we've had a pretty bad flop against done a lot. So we're going to go for a delayed c-bet here. If he checks again, I'll probably just bet twice. But that's not the kind of flop that I wanted to hit against somebody who I think is going to be not that into folding if they've got any kind of draw or pair or something like that. I'm going to just call here with the ace queen because I don't mind if I get squeezed. Because if I get squeezed, I can just maybe consider back raising with a hand as strong as ace queen. Here I'm absolutely going to check raise against our friend here. We've been 3-bet here by we're out of position this time. We did a critical difference for not defending the Queen 8 suited. This time I'm out of position, so it's not really something I want to do very often. Just going to keep checking the ace queen. I just think we've got the best hand. I just don't think we're going to get caught by worse. So I'm just going to hopefully try and pick off some bluffs instead. No value in raising here. And yep, the plan worked well. Well, not that it wasn't much of a plan, but the line worked well. The line did what the line was intended to do there. So it'll be 3-bet in the ace. Oh wow, hang on. I didn't notice that 3-bet. I think I'm going to call 4-bet this ace queen and get it in. Against someone who looks like they're pretty damn aggressive in Fairy Light. He's 3-betting 19.2% over a small sample. He's 35-21. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be comfortable getting it in this spot. And yeah, unfortunately, he has queens this time. Which is damn unfortunate for us, but I mean, he just doesn't have to have queens there. I mean, the guy's playing 35-21. He's 3-betting a huge amount. That does demonstrate the danger of small sample sizes, but yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy with my play there. I think ace queen's way too strong to fold, so had I just called him in, I would have gone broke on the flop when it's flop top pair anyway, so it's really not so much of a big deal to me. Do I see bet my gut shot? That is the question here. I think the board's straight enough, yeah, where I can. Not too many draws out there that are going to float us. Don't think we get floated too often on king high boards. Problem is when we do get called, particularly by a player that's done a lot, who don't think he's going to fold a jack very often either. I'm just going to give up now. Just maybe, who knows, he might just give me a free card, I might just hit my queen. I mean, Dunlop is one of the bad regular type players I was talking about. I mean, he's got reggish stats, 28-22, but he's almost certainly playing way too loose for his overall level of ability. I mean, he's not reloading. He doesn't strike me as somebody who's particularly good. So, I mean, he would probably be a better served just playing much tighter, because he just doesn't look like a good player to me. He probably thinks he's good. Probably one of these losing players who makes lots of excuses why he's not winning, when ultimately it's just because he's playing too loosely for his actual level of ability. Excuse me. Double barrel here because we picked up a flush draw. Well, I was going to, then I stopped to pause and consider that I timed out, which is unfortunate. Now, very confident he doesn't have a straight, so you could try and make him fold everything that isn't a straight. I think you would definitely donk a 7 there, and well, I'm not really sure what to say about that. I mean, I guess when I do use that bet size, I am kind of polarising myself to nuts or rare, but to make a call there with one pair seems somewhat ambitious to me. But it works out for him, so fair play. That's another hand I will go back on, and I will note to next time I have a strong hand against him, I will make a note to overbet and not do the overbet bluff anymore. I am making this video at around 1 AM GMT. The pool wasn't particularly big when I started the video. It is kind of off-peak times. I'm not expecting the games to be super good at this time. Probably not the best time to be playing them, to be completely honest. Because you do seem to be a little bit reggy right now. I mean, reggy not in a way where I think they're particularly good regulars, but just reggy, and probably not going to have as high a win rate at this time of day against these players that I would have maybe if I was playing at 9 o'clock at night. There'd be a lot more recreational players kicking around. I was hoping Fairy Light was going to find a 3-bet there. Fortunately, he didn't. Disappointing when you see the guys with the big 3-bet stats and you have a premium hand, and then they just don't accommodate you. So this guy donked on me on this board. I mean, we just clearly can't fold just yet. Queen of Clubs is a particularly gruesome card. I'm going to try and show my hand down. Probably fold the river unless he bets reasonably small. And now he's checked. The question is, can I go for some thin value? With a 7 pair in the board, it does mean we've jumped ahead of Queen 10 if he had that on the turn, which seems somewhat unlikely because it seems he probably would have bet the turn with Queen 10 surely. I'm just going to make a weak check back. And he did have the ace. really. I mean, there we go. That's exactly what's happening in these games. He's a regular, and just donking that board with a weak ace, which is clearly, by any stretch of the imagination, not a good play. And I mean, he won the minimum there. I mean, he was never going to win a big pot anyway, but I just don't like his line in the slightest. I mean, what is he really going to do when unfortunately, that turn for me, he was lucky that I had a hand with as much showdown value as I did, because if I had a weaker hand than that, I probably would have turned it to a bluff on the river, and it would have put him in a tough spot. But he was lucky that I had a hand that could just accommodate him with his cheap showdown. Surprised my force held up there. I'd kind of just given up on them. Not sure about this 2.5x opening as well. I've been doing it every session so far, but I'm not seeing that many 3-bets, which is the only reason I do it is to like give myself some protection against people who 3-bet excessively. But if I'm not getting 3-bet too often, I'm not sure that I shouldn't just be 3xing, given that I'm a reasonably tight player, so I'm opening stronger hands for the most part anyway. So Fairy Light's just 3-betting it again, because it looks like that's what Fairy Light does. King 7 suit, it's kind of marginal, but against Fairy Light I am going to play it, because I just think there's a very more than reasonable chance he's just getting out of line way too often. And I mean, I could end up spewing here and just donating another stack to him, but at this point I'm not intending to fold. And if it just so happens that he isn't this excessive with his 3-betting and he just does seem to have it every time, well then, good for him. I mean, we might just have been bailed out by the river here. And now the question is, do I let him empty the clip? And I think I do. I took a pretty weak line through the entire hand. Against these types of aggressive players, I kind of just want to let him do the thing. And he did have aces, which, unlucky for him. Really unlucky for him. Maybe this does show the dangerous sample sizes, because, I mean, we've looked him up twice now when he's been doing aggressive things because of his high 3-bet number. And he's had queens and aces, so I need to be a little bit more wary of Fairy Light going forward until I get a bigger sample on him, because it's very possible that he's just had some good hands over a small sample size. So Healy, how wide do you open under the gun? Pretty wide, all position. I'm going to 3-bet you for value, because I think these people who open really wide from all positions, they're just bad in general, and they fold. They don't fold enough. I'm going to 3-bet the Queen 8 here because of gentleman's 74% fold to 3-bet. I think people who like Healy, who play 27-23, opening 20% under the gun, etc., they just make a ton of mistakes. They probably think they're some sort of really good player, but they just make lots of mistakes because they're just playing, the ranges are just too wide for the positions that they're playing from, and they don't understand that, and they just think it's fine to do what they're doing. It's like, oh, it's standard, it's this, it's that. I mean, good for them if that's what they want to do, but I think they are very, very easy to play against. We're going to fold here if we get donked into by Jim, what's his face? Defend the Queen 9 off to the min raise. And we chop, which is a little bit unfortunate. But we can't complain too much about running after what happened with the King 7. You just check call with the Queen 9. Get a 3-bet the Ace Queen. Just going to keep check calling down with the Queen 9. I might donk the river if it breaks out, because we can rep an awful lot of misdraws. And he might just check back 2 pair or something like that. So I think I'm going to bet fold here. He's going to bluff catches a lot. I'm going to bet fold really quite big. Try and rep just like the naked ace of diamonds or something. And unfortunately, he had us absolutely stoned. Which is a bit unfortunate when... Oh wow, I timed out the top table. Too busy playing the other hand. This hasn't been an issue for me, typically. What is going on here? But I think when I'm trying to comment on hands too, it is going to make me a little bit vulnerable to timing out. And I think the fact of making so many videos over this sample size is going to have some kind of effect on my win rate too, because I am going to make some mistakes that I wouldn't make if I was like there, for example, the folding the ace queen. And I may have folded it anyway, but I'd rather make a conscious decision to fold it than have it happen just because I timed out. Hopefully we're going to suck out here. Where we didn't, never mind. %53% of button, 76% fold. While that number stays up at 76%, I'm just going to continue 3-betting him until he adjusts. I mean, who knows? It might just be a bot. That could easily be a bot with them. And he might just never adjust. If it's a bot, it won't adjust until it's the person who programmed it makes it adjust. He might not be a bot, but I'm going to treat it like a bot for the time being until I have reason to think it's changed its strategy against me in particular, or think he. I'm not going to say it's a bot for sure. I'm not going to refer to the account as it. Oh, here comes the kitten again, which has brought me something to play with. Just stay there for now, kitten. I say she's a kitten, she's nearly 2 now, but she's still a baby. I'm going to just call here because I don't expect to get squeezed by somebody with a 2% 3-bet very often. Check back the ace jack. I think we're going to have the best hand enough of the time to try and short our hand down here. He probes a turn, or he bets a turn large. He's going to fold now. Don't know enough about this guy yet. It's looking like he's going to potentially be bad aggressive, but don't know enough about him yet to start making 2 when he plays against him. Now. I'm going to start by betting because when I would bet on my ace XC, I think I would bet expecting him to call with worse than an ace. So if I expect him to call with worse than an ace, we can certainly value bet kings too. I'm going to continue betting for some very thin value. I'll probably check something the river depending on what the river card is. And he folded, which is an okay outcome in that particular situation. So a player here who looks like he doesn't fold to c-bets, so I'm just going to bomb it, and I'm probably going to, if he calls, if you look at his fold to c-bet, well, is 0 in position and 17% out of position so far. So for somebody with those stats, I'm going to call and then I'm going to start checking just to exploit the fact that I believe they're probably floating too often. I mean, it's not going to be pleasant. If it runs out club, I'm probably going to have to check full. But my line at my idea right now is to just call on OK runouts. If it comes to a club, I'm probably going to have to change that plan. King's not ideal either, but again, I think he's going to have a lot of floats in his range, so there's a good chance I'm still going to call here if he bets. Because that was my plan, and I don't particularly want to deviate from it and just start second guessing myself. My plan here was exploit the fact I think he floats too often. If he turns up with a king here or a full house or a flush, well, so be it. But I think this type of player is going to have more bluffs than your typical player in this spot. He didn't, he had the flush that time, but whatever. It's not the end of the world. We just have the stats that we have to deal with, and the guy doesn't like folding to c-bets. Just unfortunate there that he made his hand that time, and maybe he doesn't fold enough, but maybe he just checks down. I don't know enough about him yet, but I think with the information we had available, I think the line we took there was perfectly plausible. I'm going to 3-bet the 4x open here with my jacks for value. C-bet the ace queen. Just call the ace 9 because he doesn't fold very often by the looks of things to 3-bets. Going to keep betting for value here. Fold here. Going to fold here. Going to check back here. Been raised on the turn. I mean, I expect this guy to just have something very nutty. So he's going to fold, not care very much about it. I'm a big subscriber to the Beluga Theorem and wow right now. So now let's have a look at return to set, and he's bet €1 into us. I'm going to hope this is some silly attempt to induce a bluff from us, and I'm going to go for a big raise. Or maybe he just does this and folds, who knows. That is not a particularly pleasant river. Now the question is, can I shove for value? And I think we absolutely can. And just hope he's got like an ace jack, ace 9, pocket 9s, pocket 2s. He doesn't have to just always have flushes here when he takes his line from the turn. There's definitely lots and lots of worse hands he can go with. I mean, he will have some flushes, but not many. He's going to have way more like worse hands that are calling. No, so far, mate, what's been happening is I feel really confident in the games. I feel like I've got a decent edge. I feel like I've been playing well for the most part. Obviously been making some mistakes, because who doesn't make mistakes? This guy's got pretty neutralish stats. I'm not too motivated to 3-bet him here. Certainly not going to 3-bet this guy who falls to an insane amount of 3-bets. And looks like he maybe c-bets too often too. So we're just going to see what happens here when we put in just a small bluff raise. He steals a reasonable amount. He c-bets a lot. I mean, he's c-betting. Oh yeah, he's c-betting 86% of the time over a small sample. So here I'm going to just bet somewhere around 4, I think, and just shove the river. Just try and bluff him now off his bluff catchers, basically. We have got some equity with his queen. We might be good. If we get raised here, we have the easiest fold in the history of the world. And I'm not sure I didn't check. Again, there's a little bit of auto pal against Ignal. I would have bet the turn had I been paying more attention. So these are the sort of things that are just going to slightly affect my win rate. and just missing bets here and there because I'm just not fully concentrating because I'm trying to talk about other hands at the same time. I don't know how much it's going to affect my win rate, but it's certainly going to have an effect. Yeah, but to finish up what I was making, I mean, from what I've seen in these games, they're a little bit more reggy than Snap. They have the huge advantage of having a HUD. They have a huge advantage of just the software working properly as it should do, which isn't happening on 888 at the minute. Disadvantage is the stakes are too low for me. But yeah, I'm certainly going to enjoy the challenge. I'm doing pretty well on poker at the minute. I've had a decent time of it. So doing this experiment and costing myself some money in the short term isn't something I'm too concerned about. I'm going to 3-bet here against the guy with the huge fold to 3-bet. Again, I'm going to treat him a little bit like he's a bot while he's got such a high number. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a bot, to be completely honest. Typically when you see people with these sort of numbers, I mean, they turn up as being shown up as bots months and months down the line. iPoker has a proud reputation of being a good breeding ground for bots. I'm sure they would rather not have that reputation, but they just have it, and I'm sure there's bots on the network still. I'd be stunned if there wasn't. So we've been donked into again here. Channing donked the last hand and we raised and he folded. So we'll try the same again. I'm just going to fold here with the pair on the 4 straight board. This time Channing calls. So what does that say about his range? Last time he donked on Ace-XX mono. This time he donked. So I think he's going to have a hand a lot of the time like pocket 9s, pocket 7s, things like that. So I'm just going to try and get him off it with a turn some equity. And the plan here is to bet the turn and then probably shove the river if he just calls. Which is so I'm trying to set the pot up so, you know, I've got an overbet shove for the river left. While still making a reasonable size turn bet. And when he check raises, he's probably just got a pocket 2s or a jack. So I have no issue folding whatsoever. When I see people like him, I will go back and do work on my database and just figure out, right, what's this guy donking? What is his donking range? Because the sooner I figure that out, the better. Wow, that's a decent sized donk bet. I'm just going to call here. And just as long as he keeps donking big, I'm just going to keep calling him, and the minute he checks, I'm just going to bet. Not worried about the ace if he's... I mean... It's probably going to cost me value on the river here. I'm just going to 4-bet, get it in with my 2 8s. Going to jam my kings. I'm not going to c-bet this board with the ace-10. I'm now going to bet it for the same reason I didn't want to c-bet it, because I didn't think people fold enough on those type of boards. Now I've hit a pair. I'm going to bet because I don't think we'll fold enough on these type of boards. That diamond is particularly gross, so I'm just going to check back now. And he did have the flush, which is somewhat unfortunate. Yeah, I think I've been running, well, obviously by my EV, that we showed right at the start. I've definitely been running salty since I moved here. But I think I've been running bad situationally as well. There's some weird things. I've seen a lot of weird stuff happen. I think the overall standard of play is still really poor. Really poor. The regulars are worse, in my opinion, on this site from what I've seen so far. Over like maybe a decent amount now. At 20 NL, the regulars are probably worse than the 30 NL regulars on 888. Certainly would be better than them, but on 888 they have more fish than this site does. So it is a balancing act. There's a lot of things to consider when we're doing this sort of thing. I mean, for me, if 50 NL ran on this site at speed poker, I would move my bankroll here and I would just grind for the rewards. I'm not going to call it rake back because it isn't. I would just grind for the rewards that you can get on this network. But unfortunately, 15 doesn't go. Don't particularly want to play €100 when I speed poker. Don't think I'm good enough. Don't particularly want to deal with the swings that comes with that sort of shit. I like a nice stress-free life. I don't want €2,000 downswings on a regular basis. It's not what I want from my poker. Gonna fold here to this fishy-looking player. The hand isn't strong enough to bluff catch with. Yeah, so I think I've definitely ran salty. I mean, we've seen this session has been like typical of things that have been happening. Just people playing the hands badly and getting there, or turning up with things that you wouldn't expect them to have. But overall, I think, yeah, the games are definitely beatable. Who knows what for. So we've been going for nearly an hour now, so we're going to call it a video in a moment. We just sit out next big blinds at all tables. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the update. Shame we couldn't win too many big pots. I think it's probably been a losing session. It feels like it's been a losing session anyway. How much by I don't know. It's disappointing because I want to start getting some traction pretty quickly because it is a relatively short challenge. So I would like to get traction as quickly as possible, but maybe I'm just not going to. Queen 8-9 rainbow against a 53-38 who folds to a lot of C bets. I could probably make that cheaper. I could probably make that 70. Don't think it makes me that much because this guy up to now he's folded to in total 67% of C bets and more outward positions, so I think that was a fine C bet once we get called. Well, now I'm going to bet this river if he checks to me, but I was just going to give up once I got called because people who typically fold to a lot of C bets then call, they're not the sort of people I want to run multi-street bluffs against. And then we just bet the river for value. Hope he can find something to call with. We get raised, we got another really easy fold. One rather prosaic end to the video, waiting while someone tanks and folds. So there we go, that's probably going to be the last hand I would imagine. No, we will get dealt. 5-7 off. Yeah, so that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back with another video. I'll probably make this time again tomorrow, so yeah, sometime on Friday I'll be back with the next video in this. Until then, good luck everybody, take care and goodbye for now.